In this video, we're gonna give you the ultimate guide to customizing your 4x4 truck, whether it's an SUV, a pickup truck, everything in between. What's up guys, Mitchell Watts with TC Customs, and I'm so excited to be bringing this video to you. I've had so many people ask me lots of different questions about like, what's the first thing that I would do with my truck? What's the first thing that I should do if I'm planning on going off-roading? This video is for you. Now this is gonna be a series of videos because it's so much good content that I kind of basically separated into different videos to make sure that you guys are able to consume this in bite-sized pieces. So the first thing we're gonna do is talk about the overall goal of your 4x4. What do I mean by that? What are you gonna be doing with the vehicle? Is your 4x4 gonna be something that's just a daily driver? I just go to and from work and I want it to look better? That is something you have to take into account. Or is your goal to make this the most off-road worthy vehicle? Who cares about the on-road performance? I only want the off-road performance. Or do you want a hybrid of somewhere in between? Because there's gonna be a difference. Now in this video, we're gonna dive deep into the suspension components because that does make a big difference as far as everything is concerned. And so at the end of the day, what are you trying to accomplish with your vehicle? You need to know how much on-road versus off-road performance you're looking for because that can change the cost of the suspension system pretty drastically. The other thing you need to consider, are you going to be doing something like camping and I need a little bit stronger or a stiffer spring to support all the extra weight of a rooftop tent? All of that stuff we're going to be covering in the suspension component of today's video. So the first thing I want to talk about on suspension itself is what kind of lift should I go with? And first off, let's go with what size lift, because at the end of the day, the size lift can also affect how the vehicle drives in some situations. So TC Customs is a custom performance shop located in Alabama. We've got 2 locations and we also sell and ship these parts nationwide. So shout out if you want to check out any parts on our website, it'll be linked down below if you want to take a look at that. But in regard to the size of the lift, the overall price that you pay, you do get a return on your investment, but there's also a law of diminishing return. What in the world am I talking about? Well, the more money you spend on a lift kit, typically speaking, the better ride quality you're going to have. And so if you're just that guy that is got his very first pickup truck and I just want to get bigger tires on it, if it sacrifices the ride quality a little bit, there's nothing wrong with going with a less expensive lift kit. But if you're looking for something that's really going to improve the capability, the performance, and the off-road, you might want to consider doing something like a coilover lift. Like for instance, a FabTech coilover lift is something that I had on my previous Bronco Badlands, and those coilovers really did a good job of making sure the truck felt good on road, but also performed really well off-road. So just kind of keep that in mind. Versus a spacer lift, which basically just pushes everything down. It might make it feel a little bit tighter on the road, but you get that extra lift. And so you have to kind of weigh that difference of, hey, is it worth the extra money to go with the more expensive lift kit? And in some situations, if you've got the budget for it, there are 2 main places that I would recommend spending more money than you probably want to, and that is on tires and the suspension. At the end of the day, those are the 2 things that can make the most drastic difference in whether you actually even like driving your vehicle at the end of the day. But getting back to the size of the lift, this can actually vary depending on what vehicle you actually own. For instance, if you have a Bronco, most Bronco lifts are going to be anywhere from like 2 to 4 inches of worth of lift size, because you're not going to be redoing all of the suspension geometry and things like that. Now, there are a few kits out there that actually do a big drop bracket and all that kind of stuff, but that's not normally what you see on a Bronco. Where you do see that though is on an F-150, things like that. But on an F-150, if you do a 6-inch lift, let's say a 6-inch FabTech lift, you are actually going to be buying a new drop bracket, so that way it drops everything like the front differential, it drops the control arms for the lower side, it's got new steering knuckles, and that way everything stays in the perfect geometry for your vehicle. So that way it's going to ride very similar to stock. And I know things like the FabTech lift kit, that particular setup is actually designed to be very, very similar track width to factory. So that way the vehicle's tires are not sticking way outside of the vehicle, just in case that is a legal issue in your state. I know in Alabama they don't care because we some rednecks, but it's nice to know you've got that ability if you go with the right size and offset of wheels. By the way, make sure you're subscribed to this channel because we're going to go over things like tires, wheels, yada, 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 yada. We're gonna go over everything that I consider when I'm consulting with a good customer, or if I'm thinking about doing modifications to my personal 4x4, this is the video series you want. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. So getting back to the size of the lift, if you go with a drop bracket, you're able to keep everything in geometry, everything's gonna work. And the problem with that is the cost of those. Because you're doing a new drop bracket and because you're doing all of this kind of stuff, it does typically cost you a little bit more money for that kit. And it is usually a permanent modification, meaning you cannot readily return it to stock. Versus something if like you do the FabTech lift kit on a Bronco, all that is just new coilovers that you can swap out and put the factory ones back in, and then you go right back to the OEM ride height. By the way, this is not a FabTech ad. They're not paying me to say this. This is just who is on the top of my head because I had it on my previous Bronco. BDS is a great option. There's so many good options out there as far as lift kits are concerned. Usually speaking, you get what you pay for, but realistically, the only thing that's going to be sacrificing if you go with that less expensive option is maybe some ride quality. So let's talk about warranties on suspension. Now, this is a big one because you don't want to spend $70,000 on your brand new truck, put a lift kit on it, and then void the warranty. That's one of the most common questions we get on these trucks is, well, if I do a lift kit, am I going to be voiding the warranty on my vehicle? Everybody that we deal with at TC Customs has got some kind of a supplemental warranty that goes with it. Otherwise, we won't do it, or we'll denote it to the customer ahead of time that, hey, you might be voiding your warranty. But at the end of the day, if you, let's say you get a BDS lift kit and you install that lift kit with a reputable place that's certified to do it, like TC Customs, what happens is that if you register that lift kit with the manufacturer that built the lift kit, they will add a supplemental warranty onto the rest of the vehicle that covers you in the case that Ford Motor Company or whatever OEM is trying to deny the warranty claim. Now, let me kind of put it this way. Let's say you do a lift kit on your vehicle and all of a sudden you have a headlight issue. Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with the warranty of the lift kit, and so the OEM should pay for that. And that they have no right to deny a claim unless the lift kit is something that caused the failure. And in that situation, if the OEM does decide to void the warranty because of that, you have BDS or FabTech or whoever it is swoops in, takes care of that, so that way you have no gap in warranty coverage. To me, that's a huge, huge benefit. And most of these companies that are offering these supplemental warranties, number one, it's free, no cost to you, because they're trying to show confidence that they've done their R&D, their research and development on this lift kit, but it's no cost to you. And most of them cover you for a 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. So the same powertrain warranty that comes with the OEM vehicle, it's in most situations going to be automatically carried over with this lift kit manufacturer. The other thing you need to understand when it comes to lift kit manufacturers is that you got to be careful who you choose to do business with, because at the end of the day, not all lift kit manufacturers are created equal. There is a reason there's only a select few big lift kit companies out there, and that's because it's just so expensive to properly research and engineer and design a lift kit for your vehicle. There's also a lot of testing that needs to be done in some situations, like FMVSS 126 certification. You've probably never heard what that is, but like for instance, the BDS lift kits, last time I checked, are FMVSS 126 certified. And it basically means they've done rollover tests and they've certified that this lift kit is not going to cause the vehicle to lose all of its roll stability control technologies inside the vehicle. You still have coverage there, is basically what it means. Those tests are obscenely expensive, and that goes into the cost of the lift kit. So usually if it's cheaper lift kit, it may not have that certification. And I don't know if that's important to you or not, but if it is, you need to do your research. The next thing I want to talk about when it comes to the proper suspension for your vehicle also kind of dives into the tires, which is going to be the next video. And what I want to point out to you is that almost every one of these lift kit manufacturers clearly tell you exactly what size tire that they recommend if you use their lift kit. So a couple of things there. Number one, make sure that you get the lift kit that actually fits your vehicle. For instance, if you wanted to do a spacer kit on your Bronco, well, you need to know if you have a Badlands or not, because if you have the Haas 1.0 suspension or the Haas 2.0, or meaning if you have the Bilstein shocks or not, it's a completely different lift kit. By the way, did you know the 2-door and 4-door in some situations have different part numbers because there are differences in those particular parts to make sure that the lift kit looks right. So all of that to say, just do your research and make sure that you've got all of the right specs for your particular vehicle, because there are differentiating factors on that. The other thing that I want to talk about on the tire side is go with those recommendations that the manufacturer goes with. So if FabTech tells you, hey, this lift kit clears 35s with this specific wheel, you probably need to stick with that. Now, if you're a little bit like me and you like to live life on the edge and you don't mind hacking on your vehicle, which we're going to cover in another video, you can go with a bigger size tire that is outside of what's recommended. But just understand that to do that, you're either not going to be able to go off-roading as well as you'd like, or you're going to have to get the Sawzall out. So I don't know what camp you fit in, but if you don't like any of those, I highly recommend you stay with the exact specifications of tire and wheels that the suspension manufacturer tells you, because a lot of people don't realize this, but the wheel, the width, and the offset means a lot more than you probably think. In fact, it's probably more so of a game changer on what will and will not fit than the actual size of the tire itself. Don't worry, we're going to cover that in detail in the next videos. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the suspension of these vehicles and which one you should choose is understanding the overall ride height of the vehicle. And I'm going to go ahead and give this one to you now. I'm not going to make you wait until the next video, but let's decide that, hey, I know that I need to fit this vehicle in my garage, and so it cannot exceed a certain number of inches in overall height. I'm going to tell you in this video exactly how you can calculate that. But let's pretend you have a Bronco Badlands non-Sasquatch. Well, you can easily go out there and measure your vehicle, or just go to Ford.com, look at the specs, and it will tell you the overall height of that vehicle. But I want to know that, hey, if I put a 4-inch lift kit on there and a set of 37-inch tires, is it going to still fit in my garage? Well, here's how you do that. You take the overall height of the vehicle in stock configuration, and you're going to add a 4-inch lift kit to it. So I'm just plugging in round numbers. Let's say the vehicle in OEM height is 60 inches tall. You add a 4-inch lift kit to it, that means it's 64 inches tall. I just hit the mic. Sorry. So now with that lift kit, you know you've got a 64-inch tall vehicle. But you also have to factor in, what are the tires going to do? Well, if you originally had a 33-inch tire and you're going up to a 37, that's 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. That's an extra 4 inches taller tire, but only 2 of those inches are underneath the axle and 2 of those inches are above the axle, meaning that those 2 inches that are under the axle is going to increase the overall ride height by 2 inches. So in this particular situation, you have 60 plus the 4 inches for the lift kit plus another 2 inches for the tire. That means that this is 66 inches tall if my redneck arithmetic is working right. So that is how you can calculate overall what your height of the vehicle is before you start getting a lift kit installed. Now, I do recommend that, this is also round math, so you can't hold me to any of this if it's not exactly right, but logic right there is telling me that's a great way to get a rough and dirty of the overall height of the vehicle after you get done with the lift kit, wheels, and tires. The next thing I want you to do is click on that link down below to see exactly all of the details, the nitty-gritty details on what tire is best for you and the lift kit that you've decided to choose from this video. Click on that link down below or right there below my face to watch that video. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Peace.